Today we're going to be discussing what's involved in living the unlimited life. And my guest is Dr. 𝗩𝗶𝗴𝗵𝗹𝗶𝗴𝗵𝗁, referred to affectionately as Guruji, a guru from the ancient Tamil tradition of southern India. There's an ancient saying which goes, "The teacher will come when the student is ready." This has to do with putting out a strong intention, commitment, and the resonant field this creates. While I wasn't seeking a teacher or guru per se, I had become very aware of certain things I wanted to get handled in my life, and had put out that strong intention when Guruji arrived. A good friend and meditation buddy of mine invited me to come along to one of Guruji's lectures, which I did based largely on my friend's enthusiasm. There were a couple of things which really touched home. One was something Guruji said about mantras helping to still the mind from constant chatter, something which I was really ready to do. And the other was the Shaktipat, or light of the Guru, with which he filled the room. I'm very pleased to have Dr. Pillai with me here today, and to be able to do what I most love to do, which is to introduce others to people I know who have a very deep and lived understanding of the art of living. Guruji, welcome. So here we are.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. I think for the audience it would be well to sort of start in the context of who the Tamil Siddhas were, so we can understand where you're coming from.
The Tamil country itself, which forms the part of southern India, is a very ancient piece of land. It, according to the tradition, belonged to Lemuria. So we are talking about 35,000 years in human time frame. The Siddhas have learned about human consciousness. The word Siddha is one who lived Siddhi consciousness. Siddhi consciousness means perfect consciousness. A consciousness in which there are only happenings and no doubts. Right now we have a consciousness in which doubts cloud our understanding. The Stanford study says that 80% of our thoughts are negative. We constantly battle with our own self, whether it is right or wrong. A Siddha is one in whom there is no doubt.
So today we're here to speak about living an unlimited life, and that was the thing that I think most excited me when I heard you speak at first and have gone further into your teachings. And I know that there's such a tendency, like what you're saying, to be doubtful. And I wonder what some of the clues would be, or the techniques would be, to be able to start to be on this path of unlimitedness, and how to curtail that thinking process.
Yeah, life itself is just thinking. Descartes said that proof of life is that you are thinking. I think, therefore I am. This is Descartes. So thinking defines you, or defines anyone for that matter. You might as well be thinking big. The moment you begin to think big, then you make changes in your life. It's impossible to be without thinking. You've got to be thinking. But why don't you think big, in an unlimited way, without doubts? As I said earlier, the problem for us is most of the time with our thinking process we battle. There are self-defeating thought patterns. A thought comes and then, no, it's not going to happen. So we battle all the time. We do not know a way that we could generate a doubt-free thought. Once you have made it possible to produce a doubt-free thought, then you have accomplished the consciousness of the Siddhas. Because in this consciousness of the Siddhas, there is no doubt. He thinks and then his thoughts manifest. So you need to have that power. You need to have that energy to produce that kind of consciousness within you.
Right. I've noticed also that sometimes when I begin to move more in that direction, that then the people around me tend to put the negativity back in. Like, in my best interest, they'll come in and say, well, be careful about this and all. So we're going to look at a video that we've put together of the fire ritual that we all did in Malibu. And that video will tell us a little bit about the kind of ritual that one can do to deal with getting more into an unlimited life.
Now make a prayer to all the divine beings to change your karma, your thought, predisposed thoughts within your consciousness, and then recreate yourself with unlimitedness in all areas of your life. Allow the energy to flow through your system, both the body and mind and the soul together. As we chant Om, that's what's happening. Let's chant Om, and when we chant, we are dispelling, diffusing our karma, and then bringing in the divine energy to rebuild our life. Our poverty consciousness is melting away. For the body, the mind and the soul, and also the environment. Peace to the body, peace to the mind, peace to the soul, peace to the universe. Peace, 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 peace everywhere. Peace. Let's chant peace. Peace, peace, peace. Peace, peace. Someone will come and collect the grains, and all the grains will be put into the fire, and innumerable blessings that belong to the gods. So, the offerings into the fire, and that is the most appropriate thing.
This was the fire ritual that we did up in Malibu. I wonder if you could tell us about the fire ritual per se, and also just the use of ritual in your tradition.
Fire in all tradition is associated with God. And you have stories from ancient traditions of the world that how fire was stolen into the earth. All that we know today about fire through modern physics is very little. There are aspects of fire which we have not understood in the scientific world, but the ancient people, seers, have great understanding about fire. The fire has the ability to transform you. I'll give you a small example.
Okay.
Sand becomes gold. It is the action of fire on sand.
That's right.
Something that is very base becomes precious just by fire. So fire has the divine quality to transform you. only if you understand how this could be exploited for our own advantage. So this is what is involved in the fire ritual. We use the fire to transform our lives.
And we put prayers and intentions and all into the fire.
Yeah, so that our intentions through the purification of fire become pure, become powerful, and they manifest in real life. Because fire has the ability to manifest your desires. Fire is associated with light, and light is associated with the form. And form is manifestation. And that is the purpose of this ritual. This ritual is to help you manifest your desires.
Now, coming from Western culture, I think people might discount that or think that's magic or how could that possibly be? And
no, this is not magic. This is pure science. I just gave an example.
Right.
That sand becomes gold because of the action of fire.
But we're so used to this sort of, we have to do this, to do this, to do that, to make things happen kind of thinking. It's hard to believe that things can manifest.
That is a wrong thinking. When science developed, metaphysics was buried deep down in the earth. That's the mistake that has happened. We do not look upon science and metaphysics as opposites. We have to use science because it is physical understanding of the universe. Metaphysics is spiritual understanding of the universe. We should have both science and spirituality. Then life will be very fulfilling and fruitful.
When someone comes to you and they have a lot of unlimited thinking, what are different ways that they can approach that in terms of your teachings?
My basic teaching is change your thought, change your life. You are now having too many limiting thoughts. Limiting thoughts are negative thoughts, which tell you that you could do only this much. You could go only so far. You are so and so. It labels you. And I tell them that whatever label you have is brought out by you. And do not identify yourself with any of these labels. And if at all you want to identify yourself with someone, identify yourself with God.
Right.
Because God is the most unlimited being. So humans have the ability to be God. Right. That's what the Bible says, also says God created human beings in His own form.
Right.
So
yeah, I'm a believer in that. You talked somewhat about light. How about sound? The whole notion. First there was the word. How we can bring things about by using mantras. How excited I was when I first met you and you talked about how mantras could be used to still the mind. I know it's helped me tremendously to do that. How exactly does that work, and how does someone work with a specific mantra?
The mantras are the language of the unconscious. So the unconscious knows what it really means. Within the unconscious, there is great amount of power. And the sounds of mantras belong to the unconscious. It is what is being described in the Bible as the Word. In the beginning there was the Word.
Right.
And God created everything through the Word. The Word, in other words, is the language of the gods. The gods said those words, and then something like, let there be light, and then there was light. Let there be water, and then there was water. And there was no question asked how water is going to be produced, whether it is thermal electricity or hydroelectricity. It's all human mind working. With the power of the word, you can manifest anything that you want to manifest. And the mantras belong to the category of the word, W capital. So the mantras have the ability to make your consciousness to live the unconscious.
And you can use mantras to balance out like strengths and weaknesses in your astrology,
That's
for
right.
instance.
Yeah.
And I understand that there's about 100 seed mantras.
No, there are many, many mantras.
Others, yeah, but I thought that once you said there were 100 basic.
There are hundreds.
Okay, well, forget that.
There are hundreds of mantras.
But there's ones for different planets. And
Well, there are mantras for planets. There are mantras for producing wealth, prosperity. There are mantras for healing. There are mantras for improving your intelligence. Okay, there are.
what would one of those be?
Well, the mantra for enhancing your intelligence is Om, which is a very common mantra, because it enlivens the different layers of your consciousness, your waking state, your dreaming state, and your sleeping states. Also, the unconscious, which lies beyond the waking, dreaming, and sleeping states. So Om would be a mantra to improve your consciousness.
From what I understand, that often Om is mispronounced. There's actually an ah sound that begins the sound, and we're sort of if we start with an O sound usually. Can you tell us how you're supposed to say it properly when you sound it out?
Yeah, Om has 3 sounds built into it. The first sound is Ah. The second sound is U. The third sound is Im. Together they become Om. The Ah sound is responsible for creating your waking state of consciousness. The U sound is responsible for creating your dream state. And the Im or Ma sound is responsible for creating your sleeping state of consciousness. And right after the Om, which is A, U, Ma, there is a silent sound which is responsible for creating the unconscious or the superconsciousness within you. So every time that you chant Om, you enliven all the 4 layers of consciousness within you.
That's very interesting. So, in terms of unlimited thinking, people can, well, I guess I'd like to talk about judgment a little bit, because I know this is such a prevalent thing. I heard once that it was, if we could just remember that when we judge ourselves or judge another, we separate ourselves from God. You know, that seems like really good encouragement to not do it, you know, if we can remember it in the moment and keep that awareness. Why is it that there's such a negativity? I mean, it's in society, and I wonder too, you've often said be careful about the people you surround yourself with, be careful about the environment that you're in, you know, and that's very tenuous. Could you talk about that some?
There is, it is due mainly due to lack of awareness among people. People think that this reality is the only reality. They have no exposure to different forms of living life. They think that everything is pretty much set. You always have an option to think. The way you think is not the only way. You could think in many different ways. People have to be trained to think differently, supposing somebody is very negative. And the educational system should take note of that and tell that person, look, there is another way of thinking. By making changes in the thinking, that you can change your life, your environment as well.
But instead, we're actually given more negativity in that environment.
Yeah,
don't and
yeah,
should,
that's what I tell people when we talk about good neighborhoods and bad neighborhoods. What are we talking about is 2 types of people with 2 types of thought vibrations, okay? And we have to make an effort that we are to teach people that you can pollute or clean up the environment through your thought process.
Literally, yeah.
Okay.
I think some of the things that I'd like to go into we'll probably have to leave for the next show, but I know that also meditation is a way to approach all this, to be able to be into this other level of thinking that's always available to us, that we have this tendency to think that it sort of comes and goes, but I know for myself through the years that I've practiced meditation that I have available to me now sort of being in touch with the source, and that's available to me in everything that I do and all the decisions that I make. And so we'll get into that and some more about rituals and things that you practice and ways that people can go about it, and also the Shaktipat that I just had such a wonderful experience with. Thank you for coming to the show.